Okay, now welcome to task 3. We are going to set the settings in our Google Drive, so you can find your settings up here in the top right corner where this gear is located. And then I'm going to select settings. Now I'm in my settings and I can look at general, I can look at notifications, and I can manage my apps. So the first thing we're going to do are look at the general settings. So for storage, it tells you how much you use, but remember we said earlier that you have unlimited storage, so don't worry about the number here. And then this one is a big one. I want you to focus on convert uploads. So right now I have it checked. That means that anytime I upload any documents into Google Drive, it will automatically convert them to Google. So if I upload a Microsoft Word document, it will become a Google document. And if I upload a Microsoft Excel, it will become a Google Sheet. So this automatically converts as you upload. Now, this is great to have if you're uploading a lot, because if this is checked off and you're uploading your whole OneDrive folder, because in task 4 we're going to be uploading your work if you haven't done it already. So since we're going Google, there's no reason to have Microsoft files anymore. So instead of uploading everything and then manually clicking on those files to convert when you do the upload, it will automatically change them. That is simply a personal preference. If you like to have everything in its original format, so when you upload all those Word documents, you want them to stay a Word document, that's fine too. Totally up to you and how you want to decide you want to do this. I personally recommend this because we are going Google. We are going forward with Google, so you're going to need all of them to be in Google, but it is simply your own personal choice, so you'll need to decide. You can also change your language settings. Here's another important one that does need to be checked. If we do have internet problems next year and we go down, this offline here, this will allow you to have access to your documents and work offline. Now, this is not the only step that you'll need to take for offline work, but this is the one of the first ones in having that check. So definitely think you need to have that one. Okay, and once you have that one checked, you can move on down, and you see that there is a density option. This is just how your drive is set up, so you can just check or try each one and see which one makes you feel better about the way it looks. I've got mine on, there's cozy, compact. You can just check each one of those out, but it'll just show you a little different layout of, but I always leave mine on comfortable. And that really wasn't preference, it's just that's the default that comes as comfortable, and I just always left mine there. The next one is suggestions. So we have a few options here. Suggestions, you have make relevant files handy when you need them in suggested. That is here. Let me show you. So remember we talked about this earlier. At the top you have those 4 files that they leave up, something that can give you quick access to. That is what that section is. If you don't like that, if it's too cluttered and you just want to see your folders and your files, you can turn that off in settings. So if you was to uncheck this box, it would take, I can show you that, it would take those off, and so you wouldn't have the suggested, it would go straight to your folders and your files. Okay. The other option that you have here is surface important people and files and shared with me at the top. Let me show you what that means again here. So when you are in shared with me, that's these 3 up here at the top, that things that you've worked on recently with other people. So You can uncheck that and it will take those off and it'll just show you things that you've worked on previously. That's that option. And lastly is the make priority default my home page. That's the thing that we had talked about earlier, where Google can make that has those suggestions up there. Now, if you don't like that being at the top, it'll pop up every time. You probably aren't going to want to do this. So if you wanted to make priority your default homepage, so I can click that and hit done. And when I go to Drive, priority is going to be the first thing that comes up. So that's not something that I like to have. I like to have what I've been working on, that I know that I've been working on. So I'm going to not choose that in my settings. So I'm going to take that off. And again, like I've said several times, these are all personal preferences. So that's things you want to look at once we finish this task, and you can go in and work with. Now let's look at notifications. Do I want to get notifications? So get all updates about Google Drive for email or Google Drive in your browser. So it's again a personal preference, or setting your preference for your Google Drive on how do you want them. Maybe you don't want to get emails at all, so you can just check both of them, uncheck both the boxes, and you would not get emails at all. I preferably like to get these emails, and so I will leave that one checked. And then you'll notice if I check the get updates and Google drives in your browser, you got options too. So do you want to get newly shared items, requests for access, comments, suggestions? Those are all things that you can choose to do. So then let's move on down to manage apps. These are apps that you've decided or we have added for you, a little bit of both. And you'll see used by default. You can pick your default app. Okay, so here, use by default, you can choose the default app. Like, for example, when you're opening up a PDF, there are multiple PDF viewers out there. There's one that we recommend, so we forced installed it on all of yours. You can make it your default one, and then you'll have options. So from those options, you can view the product page or disconnect from the drive. You no longer want that app, so those are the things you can do in your manage app settings. So those are all three of your settings for Drive. Like I said, most of it is general. In the general is going to be how you want it set up, what you want it to look like. The two important ones right now is the convert uploads, and we've talked about that in detail. And you want to decide now, or you do need to decide now, because for task 4, we're going to be uploading your documents. So you'll need to decide, do I want to hold on to those Microsoft documents? If so, great. Uncheck that box. It's totally fine. If not, if you're ready to make the splurge and just want to go full Google, because that's where we're going with the district, and you're ready to do that, I would go ahead and click the box so that it's checked. And then when we go into task 4, we will convert them. The other one we talked about was that it's important is the offline one. Make sure you check that so that it is offline. And here's a way you can tell if it's working. So once you check that, you should have a new section here that's ready for offline. You'll have this check with the underline under it here. So I have that check marked, and anytime that you ever have questions and you don't want to reach out to our digital team, you might need something quickly, you also always have this support option here from Google. So now it's your turn. So go ahead and get into your Google Drive and set your settings to your preferences.